everybody, and welcome to Self-Help FAQ, the YouTube channel. I'm Barb, your host, and now we start the month of February 2026, where our theme for the next 4 videos is going to be, I'm calling it emotional and cognitive self-defense. Now, last Friday we talked about authenticity and the difference between being real and maybe sharing a little more than you should. And one of the questions that naturally comes out of this is, if I'm not expressing everything I feel in the moment, am I being inauthentic? Because a lot of people have been told that being real means saying whatever you feel, exactly when you're feeling it. But here's a piece that often gets left out. Authenticity without emotional regulation doesn't actually protect you. So today I want to talk about emotional regulation, not as suppression, not as holding it in, but as one of the most important forms of self-respect there is. Now, let's clear up a misconception right away. Emotional regulation does not mean pretending you're fine, stuffing your feelings, being emotionally flat, or never crying or getting upset. Emotional regulation means I can feel what I feel without being taken over by it. So you still have emotions. They just don't get to run your behavior, your words, or your decisions in the moment. That's not dishonesty, that's maturity. So regulation matters because emotions are powerful, and when they're uncontained, they can push you to overshare, pull you into arguments you later regret, lead yourself to explain when you didn't need to, make private things public when you're not ready, and cause you to act in ways that don't align with your values. So regulation allows you to pause, check in with yourself, and choose how and where you respond. That's how you stay yourself under pressure. Now, some people are better at emotional regulation than others, and that can be because they were raised in calmer households, had caregivers who regulated steady emotional responses, learned early that their emotions could be expressed safely, or they weren't ignored or punished for their feelings. So for those people, regulation is intuitive. Doesn't mean they don't feel things deeply. It means their nervous system isn't overwhelmed easily. But other people find emotional regulation much harder. And this can be because they may have grown up in emotional chaos. Maybe they had to manage other people's moods in the household. They may have learned that the only way to be seen was to have the big emotions. Maybe they were in relationships that were unpredictable. I know I've been there more than once. And they equated emotional intensity with connection. For these people, regulation can feel like it's suppressing, being fake, losing yourself, or having emotional distance. But that's not actually what's happening. What's happening is that your nervous system hasn't learned that calm can be safe. And this is where I want to reframe calm. Calm isn't weakness, and it's not passivity, and it's not just letting things slide. Calm is actually a skill. Calm means you can think while feeling. You don't need emotional intensity to feel real. You don't collapse into reaction. You can keep your access to choice. Calm allows you to respond instead of react, and that's real power. Calm can feel very uncomfortable at first. If you're used to emotional intensity, calm can feel boring, empty, unsettling, and like something is missing. But what's missing isn't meaning, it's adrenaline. So calm can feel unfamiliar before it feels peaceful, and that's normal. So here's how you can practice emotional regulation in real life. Regulation isn't a mindset, it's a practice. And here are some ways to build it. First of all, you have to regulate the body first. Before you try to figure it out, help your body settle. You can walk, stretch, breathe slowly, listen to or dance to music, change your physical environment, because a regulated body makes regulation possible. Number 2, delay expression, don't suppress it. You don't have to process everything immediately. Regulation sounds like, this is real, but I'll talk about it later when I'm clearer. Timing is part of integrity. 3, choose the right container. Ask yourself, who can actually hold this? Is this a private issue or a public one? Will I feel grounded or exposed afterward? Not every feeling needs an audience. So here are 3 practical examples in everyday life of what could happen and how to regulate your emotions. So first one is maybe you got a disappointing text or a cancellation. Instead of reacting immediately, you can pause, notice the feeling, and wait before responding. Regulation might mean responding later or not at all. Second one, maybe you are feeling misunderstood in a conversation. So here, instead of over-explaining, take a breath, clarify one point, and you can let silence do some of the work. You don't need to convince everyone. And number 3, if you're feeling emotional in a public or online space, instead of processing in real time, you can acknowledge the feeling internally, step away if you need to, and process later in private. That's not inauthentic, that's self-protection. So emotional regulation doesn't make you less real. It makes you safer for yourself. It keeps your identity intact. It preserves your dignity. And it allows authenticity to last instead of burning yourself out. Now, as I've finished the discussion for today, before I wrap things up, I want to mention something I've been noticing online lately, more and more. There's a term that keeps coming up in discussions and conversations about emotions and relationships. And that term is trauma bonding. Now, even though that term was coined in the 80s, I've only just recently heard about it. And after doing some research on this topic, I can see that I've been through this kind of thing at least twice in 2 different relationships. So it's interesting to me, and I think it will help some of you too, if you can relate. And what's also interesting is that it does connect with what we've been talking about today. Emotional regulation, intensity, and why calm can feel so hard for some people. So on this follow-up Friday, I'm going to be slowing this term down a bit, and we're going to go into the topic and discuss it. What it actually means, how it's being used, and why it shows up right when emotions feel overwhelming and urgent. If you've ever wondered why certain feelings are hard to contain, or why intensity can feel more real than calm, that conversation will help put this week's topic into context. So thank you so much for stopping by and listening in on a discussion about emotional regulation, and I hope it's helping you. And let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or you can write to me at barb@selfhelpfaq.com. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.